do my presentation on TR rescue equipment. First basic equipment that you have are hand tools. When using any type of hand tool to extricate someone from a vehicle, you should always have on your PPE or personal protective equipment, which include goggles, gloves, a Nomex coat, Nomex pants, steel-toed boots, safety glasses, and anything in that nature. Hand tools consist of a variety of different tools such as a Glassmaster, crowbars, hacksaws, screwdrivers, anything that pretty much you can have to use without power, use manual power as in your hands. Some other hand tools that you could possibly use are a socket and wrenches, hacksaw, regular saw, a high lift jack, or anything in that nature. The most common hand tools are saws, jacks, any type of come along winches, which are hand crank winches, axes, chains, pry bars, any type of cribbing that you would use to maybe stabilize a vehicle or build up to use for an airbag system or anything. The three most used in the rescue field today are a Glassmaster, a Halligan bar to make entry points for extricating people, and also a Glassmaster to cut windshield out, break glasses out. The Halligan bar was first invented in 1948 by a guy named Hugh Halligan. As everybody knows, most tools are made and named after someone who made them. And Mr. Hugh was a FDNY first deputy chief for the fire department in New York, and he was the one that designed and named the Halligan. FDNY didn't first buy the Halligan after it was first made and come out due to a possibility of conflict of interest. They wanted to give other people a chance to sell their product to them. But the first major customer of Mr. Hugh Halligan for his Halligan bar was Boston Fire Department. Some other basic hand tools or basic power tools which are used in the rescue world. They can be either electric, hydraulic, or pneumatic or air. Your basic ones used today in the rescue field would be your hydraulic cutters and spreaders and rams and porta powers. Anything that would use hydraulic fluid pumped through a line to cause it to move in a way or cut anything in general. Most of the electric power tools that are used today are you have your sawzalls, your circular saws, your metal cutting saws. You also have what Hurst has come out with now. Most companies are coming out with are called hydraulics, which are a combination of electric powered along with hydraulic power tools, such as your hydraulic cutters, spreaders, rams. Kind of give you a little bit of a mixture with your hydraulic or your hydraulic and your electrical powers, which you also have different types of battery powered saws, or run off of a generator through an electrical cord. Most of your sawzalls now, most all saws now are being run through battery packs that attach to them and can be charged on your trucks. But you can also crank your generator on your truck, run a drop cord, hook it up, and do it that way also. Your hydraulic power tools, like I was saying earlier, are your spreaders, cutters, a combi tool, rams, porta powers. Some jacks are ran off hydraulics. Your spreaders and your cutters mostly are run through a generator, which then also has hydraulic fluid, which when you open the line causes hydraulic fluid. When you turn the switch to shoot into the tool, causes it to open, and when you close the switch, it causes it to move out. Kind of is a revolving effect throughout the entire time. That's the same way with your cutters and your rams and your combi tools. Your jacks, usually you pump them up, and it causes your fluid to get air and everything in it, and causes it to move up or down, depends on which way you take and move either you pump it up or you turn the knob to cause it to release. Your pneumatic or air powered tools include air chisels, nail guns, air compressors, and airbag systems. Most airbag systems are used to lift vehicles off of people or off of other objects to get them out of the way. Your nail guns and all can be used in like USAR teams or urban search and rescue teams to help with confined space or a collapsed structure, to help build stuff to make a safe area around you to work in. Air chisels can be used to cut like the outside panels off of doors, off of roofs, anything that you need to get inside to evict them. It can be used to cut that also. Air compressors mostly run off the truck generators. That way you can use them to pump stuff up or put air in things. Your cutting and burning tools, those are various different types used in the rescue department today. Some of the most common are exothermic torches or plasma cutters. Everybody knows when if you use an exothermic torch or plasma cutter, you need to use some extra eye protection due to the fact of it could harm your eyes if you look directly at it. Need something that's got a tint to it with an exothermic torch or a plasma cutter. Both can be very dangerous. Some of the capabilities of both: you can cut through I-beams on the side of the interstate, any type of metal that you can't cut through with your cutters or your combi tool or any other type of hand tool metal, then you have that on your truck as well, maybe to help you cut through some of those. I've seen them cut through I-beams, guardrails, anything you couldn't get to make a cut with a spreader or cutter, then it'll cut through it. With all the hand tools, you also need to be inspecting and maintaining equipment. Your striking tools, such as your sledgehammers and things like that have handles, their handles need to be solid. Be sure there's no frays, no cracks. Most people apply rubber tubing or tape around the heads of your striking tools to keep them from fraying or cracking or busting in the process of you using them. They need to be routinely serviced, usually once a shift, or after every use should be sufficient. All hand saws should be free of rust, always kept sharp and lightly oiled just to be sure they're ready to go in the heat of battle, just to keep them from messing up and then you having to repair it while you're trying to use it. Your chains and winches need to be inspected periodically, especially after being put under high stress. Anytime you hook a chain or a winch to a vehicle or any object to pull it or move it, they need to be inspected for frays, breaks in the winches, anything that's bending or coming apart. It needs to be taken out of service. You should check for bad welds, cracks, oxidation, frays in cables, and bends and links, just to be sure that it doesn't break in the heat of battle and then injure someone else on the field while you're out there doing what you got to do. Chainsaws have a maximum allowable wear for chains. Just depends on what size chain, depends on what the maximum allowable wear is. For a 1-inch chain, the maximum allowable wear for a 1-inch chain is 7/32 of an inch. For a 1.5-inch chain, the maximum allowable wear is 5/16 of an inch. It is important to inspect all tools before and after use just to be sure they're ready to go in the heat of battle, and that way you limit from getting yourself hurt or someone else hurt while out there doing extrication or trying to training in general. Hydraulic spreaders and cutters should always be inspected to make sure that they are at the proper fluid levels. Most of your hydraulic tools can lose fluid in the transporting service or whenever you use it and then you forget to fill it back up, or the person that used it before you forgets to fill it back up. So you should always check to be sure your fluid levels are good. Always check for cracks or dents in the arm or frame of any of your spreaders or cutters, because if you have a fray or a crack in your cutters, you got to put it under a lot of stress. It could cause it to break, and then you're down a tool. Your air chisels should have all the internal parts lubricated prior to them being put into service, because if they're not, they have a tendency to jam or not work. And you should always clean and inspect your equipment after each use just to be sure, hey, I checked it, so they shouldn't have a problem on the next one. That way you're not the one that's getting fussed at later on down the road. They get to another call and it doesn't work, then you can say, well, I checked it and inspected it after I used it, it was still working properly. Then they know to look at somebody else. Your ropes, there are several different kinds of ropes used in the rescue service. There's laid rope, plaited rope, braided rope, and Kermanel rope. All has a different purpose in the rope rescue field. The two that can be easily mistaken for one another is your braided rope and your Kermanel rope because of looks. Unless you know exactly what you're looking for, it is hard to tell the difference. And both of them actually used for utility, just as utility rope, and not to have life loads put on them or have people attached to them. Your NFPA 1983 sets the guidelines for the rating of rope based on the tensile strength and design loads. The tensile strength of a rope for technical use operations should be no less than 20 kilonewtons. So basically it's saying that any rope that you use for a life load should not be rated less than 20 kilonewtons. Everything should be rated for 20 or higher, because you're putting a person on the end of that rope and you don't want to kill nobody while doing anything, so you want to be sure that it's going to hold at least 20 kilonewtons. And that is all of my presentation.